So much happened late last night. There was much cursing, swearing, and no water in the house for an extended period, leading up till about midnight. Tackled something I probably should not have considered an after-work type of job, but the water went off. I cut a bunch of copper pipes. I had everything laid out in my head, what I wanted to do. I just didn't anticipate how long it was going to take. So in the end, it all worked out fantastically. It was just a process getting there, as most DIY endeavors tend to be. So here's what I did. The notched joist that came across here was 60% cut, and it's only, I thought it was a 2x8, but a 2x8 would have been 7 1/4. It was actually only 7 inches dead. This is only 7 inches dead on, so it's like a cousin of the 2x8. I don't know. It's a really odd sized lumper, so I had to rip these down to exactly 7, and they were 7 1/4. So that the piece of remaining notched out joist was only about 3.5 inches thick, so it was providing, I would imagine, the strength of basically a 2x4. So that sort of led me to believe that anything I did was going to be stronger, was going to be better. So what I did do, and what I found online and was suggested to do, was head out both ends of the joist, cut out the notched area, and reinforce with, and I didn't even need to double these, but I did just because I had the wood. So double them into joist hangers. It's about 3.5, 4 feet to the end of this joist on the left side, where it's resting on the support wall, and then I think we've got about 5 or 6 feet going to the right into the bedroom until it is actually up against another joist in a hanger. So I had read that it would be optimal to double the joists on the side, but that was not necessary because I'm only removing one joist, as well as I'm close enough on one end. That's not required. But also furthering my confidence that this was going to be sufficient was there is nothing loading that joist. This is, except the shower, and it's not like it's going to be like a bathtub or anything. The shower is the only thing on this joist. There's nothing going up to the ceiling that I can see. This wall is just loosely in here, so it's not providing a point load directly onto that joist. In the bedroom, there is nothing on that joist. It's open carpet to the end of the joist. So, I mean, I think even if there was a heavy object, this feels rock solid. So I'm quite happy with it. I'm content. I've Googled my face off to find the answers, well, basically that I wanted to hear, but luckily it was the right answer. And this should be sufficient. So all that is left now is I get to put my drain exactly where I want it and drain it here, but I need to put the vent up through this new wall over here, so it's going to be a loop out and back. There it is, though. That is the new layout of the floor, and it's just a hair over 16 inches on center between the two headouts. I'm pretty happy. I mean, I'm not a light fella, and there's not a hint of movement or noise. The plumbing under here was another story. Basically, we had copper going here, down there, which is the, what's that? That is the cold. That is the cold, and then we have the hot on the other side, and it tees off to the other bathroom, over there, and then it tees off to the shower. And what I think I'm going to do, and I can't find anything online that says I can't do it, is bring the supply lines up on the insides of this joist, studs, up to the Grohe valve up here, because the Grohe valve actually has the supply feeds facing down, so that would be really convenient. And behind this grill, I would have shutoffs, which would be super convenient. The only thing I could find about having any sort of piping inside a return air vent, which I'm not even sure this is because I cannot find where the actual return is anywhere under here. There's no obvious return, but obviously this is trying to equalize air pressure or allow air to be drawn back somewhere. I just can't find it. The only restriction I found in a forum in Canada was that I can't have ABS in here, but that doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't apply because there's going to be ABS all through this cavity because that's where the drain is under the shower. And I think the thinking was if it ever burns, it gets sucked into the air circulation. But ABS is down here anyway, so I can't see a problem with putting the cutoffs there. And should I ever need to shut them off, I'll just pull the vent off and flip the valve, and Bob's your uncle. Here it is. Man versus Grohe valve. An epic battle awaits. I know nothing about these things. I watched a 90-second video, so that should be enough, right? What I do know is I want to attach this board with my pocket screws, which I've already drilled, between these studs, and have this flange flush with the back of the tile backer, so that this is adequately sticking out from the finished surface. So there appears to be room behind the valve, barely, for 3/4 inch plywood. So we're going to get that in there and see how flush we can get it. So today in the Man vs. Grohe series, I'm going to be taking a look at the Rainshower F-Series and 245, not to be mistaken with the ever so slightly 253. So what we've got we're going to have a PEX supply elbow in the wall and a nipple recessed slightly in the wall, and then I'm going to have to guess how much tape and whatnot to get this to screw on after the fact with a hex key, and have this ridge right here at the finished surface. Anything beyond the finished surface and the very flat back will protrude out. Well, that goes in, but it only goes into there. So that needs to be recessed behind tile or inside the tile, and that needs to be flush. There is no give in there because the locking screw has to catch this channel, which is not very big. So I guess there's a little bit of give, but it's in on the order of millimeters, and not many of them. Supply up from the Grohe, drop ear, Rainshower. Got the pipe from the top plate, all in insulated tubes. Got the majority of the supply to the Rainshower also It's going to be under 2 feet of blown in. I doubt it was really necessary. And I got all the electrical routed out and away from the water. Not that I think it matters because they're sharing stud cavities downstairs anyway. So it is what it is. And we're just about done plumbing. The cartridge is in place. It looks a little weird because I haven't cut off, I don't have the wall installed and I haven't cut off the flange yet, the ring. But in theory, I believe out is on, in is off, and that's just temperature on the bottom, so we'll just leave that in the center. In theory, I should be able to turn the water on now and not have water come out of any head. I guess it's time to try that. So stage 1 proof of concept. I'm going to fully release, there is no halfway, I'm going to fully release the center button, which would, no, not the center button, the right side button, which would should send the full flow out the shower head. And I'm going to be on a step ladder with a bucket because I don't want to shower just yet. I don't have a pan. I don't have walls. It's not a shower yet. Yeah, I don't know what this is going to look like, but let's give it a go. And because I put shutoffs just down here, in the case of utter failure and emergency, I will drop to the floor, disappear, and be working on shutting off the water. Nothing. Rapidly filling up. Don't know what happened with the first press. Nothing came out. But second press, success. Apparently this is lined just a little bit. Or, I don't know, they're just saving some space and not having to make the list extra long. But I see no functional difference between the left and the right sides. Even in some cases, they've got the hand shower on B, which is the center. I've got it on my Rainshower, but they never have the hand shower on the left, on A, where I've got it now. But I mean, if it's providing a Rainshower water, bath spout water, or body jet water, why not a hand shower? It's all very puzzling. But I'm going with this way. Seems to work. From the spec sheet and the outputs, the throughputs and the pressure, they're the same. So why, Grohe? Why? I've never installed a shower pan like this before. I've only put in acrylic bases. And even then, only a couple of those. Maybe 3. So this is going to be an adventure. But YouTube loves a good fail, right? So I have no intention of messing up, but let's see what happens. From tracing the wrong hole to cutting the hole to now, I don't know, maybe an hour. But what I've got under this wood is the completed plumbing to the drain, which is over here. And what needed to happen was previously the drain went from here, which was directly on a joist, which I've now remedied, would come over here, loop into the wall, and the wall used to be right here, and go straight into the drain here, where it disappears under the floor. So what I've had to do, and there was a vent in the wall, the previous wall. So what I've done is I've looped it out to the new wall, left vent, which is going to go straight up here to the ceiling in the attic, and then at 45 and a 45 back to the other vent, drain. And because I don't do plumbing very often, especially drains, I did a test run. I put the trap on there, not glued together, and I poured some water down, watching through the open vent there what was actually happening. Made some adjustments. It was draining, but it wasn't draining super fast. So made some adjustments, and now I have like a not really nice slope. I had like a full 1.5 inches of slope, so I should be able to make the water disappear quickly. So it's in that configuration now. All I have to do is pull it apart and glue it up. So let's do that. My Amazon delivery arrived. I ordered this fella, which is an extension piece for the Kohler Awaken supply elbow. This guy sells for $95 Canadian on Amazon in Canada. I got this on Amazon warehouse deals for $17. It said there'd be some sort of scratch or something. It's actually perfect. There's nothing on it, but the box was destroyed, so I'll take it. But what it did give me was the supply elbow that came with it was so deep, I didn't have room to get a hole in this stud to get to this valve, which is so close. So I just, for $18, I got the shorter one. So what I've got now, this is a much better designed elbow than the Delta that I've done in the past, and this other Grohe showerhead that I was talking about earlier. By the way, I did call Grohe, and that is how you pronounce it. It's not Groh or Grohe. So in any case, this little fella screws in there quite nicely, and then this guy has a ton of play. It's got, look at my finger, goes right in there. Once you get the seals past this little inner part, it's all just give. I mean, you can go in and out. So we'll put it on there. Kohler Awaken. It's the only non-Grohe part in the shower because, I think I mentioned earlier, all the Grohe supply elbows were cheap feeling plastic. Substantial milestone. Getting closer to actually putting some walls up. I think this afternoon I'm going to task myself with building the Schleuderboard niche enclosure and seeing how nicely that fits. Feeling reasonably confident. Having never done this before, that's quite a feat. Looks pretty simple. Let's see what happens. Well, I like the system. Very neat, easy to understand, despite the lack of a installation video. Even the instructions referred to the other product, but seems to have gone in. I can't imagine how water would get out of that now. I mean, that's good. I guess we'll see. Time to start closing the walls. Found some nifty rust-resistant drywall screws, different color than usual. Interesting, whatever, couple bucks extra. Had a sheer moment of terror this morning when I thought I had done the drain wrong and spent 20 minutes YouTubing like crazy, and it turns out that I didn't. I just could have done a next step yesterday, but pardon me, I left myself in a good spot for actually mortaring the final square that holds the drain grate in place as I tile the base. So it's terror, sheer panic. Anyway, all time. Well, I've lost my easy access to the computer room, but it's starting to feel like a shower again. And first impressions are, wow, it feels bigger. I'm going to need to, and this is probably backwards, but tile the base. Well, no, actually, that's wrong. I'm going to need to, in fact, waterproof the first band, and I'm going to use a single band around. It doesn't make any sense. I don't like the idea of doing individual pieces and then waterproofing the corners. Why create extra seams? Water overlapping bands around the entire enclosure overlaps the next. There's nowhere for it to fail, so that makes more sense to me. So I'm going to have to do the first, it's 1 meter wide, do the first band on the lower half, and then I'm going to tile the pebbles on the base, and then start tiling the back wall, which is a different tile than the sides. Probably 3 tiles high, which will fit in the first band of waterproofing, and then I can make my final measurements for where the niche is going to land. It's just too much blind faith and measurements for me to just call the bottom lip correct and then make everything depend on that being 100% correct. So I'm going to make sure it's 100% correct by tiling a couple rows and then making precise measurements and say, this is the spot right here. So it's been 18 hours, and I know that's not long enough, but it hasn't lost a drop of water. It's still right at the peak of that, but I thought it's going to be a shower for a long time. It's better to get the level up a little bit, because it's only, I don't know, half an inch, 3/4 of an inch at the outside edges. So I've plugged it higher and caulked around the base of this pipe, because I don't, like I mentioned, I don't have a drain plug. This should get me well higher, and I should be able to go way up here and higher onto the curb, because right now we're not really high on the curb. I can't go to the top of the bands because the bands will put it over the top of the curb, but we can at least get it a little bit higher and see how it goes. Oh, about 36 hours, and I think I'm over this water testing stuff. Looks good. Looks pretty good. My lines down here with the little V's haven't moved. There's no sign really of much wicking up the walls. There's a little bit of the mortar that's on the outside of the tape, which obviously, but I don't see like any really super dark spots underneath where anything would concern me too much. The lighter bands are polyurethane. I went down the YouTube rabbit hole of tile coach and Schluter wicking of water underneath the bands, and I just thought, well, why not? I've got it, and I know it sticks to the fabric, so just put a little on some seams, and I don't know, it certainly hasn't hurt. So we're gonna drain this out.